So I think we're going to be okay. All right. So how this works is I will be using the Delaire's book, which is an amazing book on Greek mythology. Has anyone ever seen this book before? It is just cool because it has great stories in it, but it also has just amazing pictures in it as well. We will not have time to get through every story, but we'll definitely start out with how all of mythology began. This is like the beginning of time with Greek mythology. The thing I want you to keep in mind the whole time is fiction. It is fictional. It's not real. This is some weird, strange, bizarre things you're going to hear today. First of all, where is Greece? Where is Greece in the world? Josh?
Somewhere around Italy, I think.
It is really close to Italy. What continent is that? Please raise your hand. What continent is that, Diego?
Europe.
It is in Europe. So if we were to look at this in a Europe map, Italy would be basically right over here. And it's hard to see because they're shiny papers, but Greece is just a lot of peninsulas sticking off of Europe and then tons of islands. You'll hear a lot about Mount Olympus, which is up here, the island of Crete, the Aegean Sea. You'll hear about a lot of these places as we tell different stories. So we'll come back to the map occasionally, but let's start with the actual story. Make it nice and big so you can read along with me. All right, in olden times, when men still worshipped ugly idols, there lived in the land of Greece a folk of shepherds and herdsmen who cherished light and beauty. They did not worship dark idols like their neighbors, but created instead their own beautiful, radiant gods. The Greek gods looked much like people and acted like them too, only they were taller, handsomer, and could do no wrong. Fire-breathing monsters and beasts with many heads stood for all that was dark and wicked. They were for gods and great heroes to conquer. The gods lived on top of Olympus, a mountain so high and steep that no man could climb it and see them in their shining palace. But they often descended to earth, sometimes in their own shapes, sometimes disguised as humans or animals. Makes it very clear it's fictional. Mortals, first of all, what's a mortal? Not what's immortal, but what's a mortal. Christian? Humans, but what's the word mean, though, James?
They can't die.
They can die. If they're mortals, they can die, which is why humans are called mortals. But immortal means what, Diego?
They can basically live for a really long time.
Right, even if somebody attacks them and it would be something that would kill a human, they'll live through it. But we're talking about mortals, so we're talking about humans. Humans or mortals worshiped the gods, and the gods honored Mother Earth. They had all sprung from her, for she was the beginning of all life. So this is where we're going to start, is where all of the Greek gods and goddesses started from, would be Mother Earth. Don't worry, I'm going to tell you what to write when it's time to write it, so don't feel like you're behind. All right, so we're going to start with Mother Earth. So this looks giant right now because I have it up so close. So this picture will make more sense later, but we're going to talk about this little story first, add to our family tree, or start our family tree, and then I'll explain the picture. So Gaia, the earth, came out of darkness so long ago that nobody knows when or how. Earth was young and lonesome, for nothing lived on her yet. So that's Mother Earth we're talking about. Oh, well, she's not mother yet. She's just Earth. Above her rose Uranus, the sky, dark and blue, set all over with sparkling stars. He was magnificent to behold, and young Earth looked up at him and fell in love with him. All right, guys, don't freak out. It's not all lovey-dovey stories in Greek mythology. There's battles and there's excitement as well. So this little tiny bit of a love story is this much of it. All right. Sky smiled down at Earth, twinkling with his countless stars, and they were joined in love. Soon young Earth became Mother Earth, the mother of all living things. All her children loved their warm and bountiful mother and feared their mighty father, Uranus, Lord of the universe. So when I was a child, there was a commercial that was like, don't fool with Mother Nature. Mother Nature is Mother Earth. It comes from Greek mythology. And they even had this character that dressed like all in green like she was Earth. All right, so you have your paper like this, sideways. We're going to focus for the beginning of our family tree at the top in the center, but I'm going to get much closer up so it's easier for you to see it. So we're going to start with Gaia. I'm focusing on the screen, and it's hard for me to figure out where I'm at. All right. So you're going to write her name, and I always have to recheck that I'm spelling it right because the vowels are really tricky to me. So on our family tree, anything that we put in ovals or circles are going to be females. Anything that we put in rectangles or squares are going to be the males. Tyler, hold on one second. Let's write this and then I'll answer your question. So write her and put an oval around her, and then we're going to write Mother Earth below her. And then next to her we're going to put Uranus, which, by the way, you'll notice that that is a name of a planet which came from Greek mythology. Well, you would be pronouncing it the way I said it. Yeah, because that's the correct way to pronounce it. And you're going to call him Sky, or you can also call him, and we're going to put this in quotes, Lord of Universe. It's really Lord of the Universe, but we'll just shorten it up. And that becomes important, so we want to make sure we get that part in there. Now in a family tree, what does that line mean when you put it between two people? What's that mean, Amaya?
They're connected.
Okay, connected like in marriage, or they're a couple, or something like that. Okay? All right. So make sure you have that.
Attention teachers and students. Pardon this interruption. Teachers, can you please make sure that your Chromebooks are all being charged right now on good chargers so that we're ready to go when we get started with our first session today, which will be Math 2.
So that was a fun part to our video that we just added. All right, so let me just go over the picture with you now. So that's obviously Lord of the Universe, right? That's Uranus or Sky, and that's Mother Earth, which is the actual ground because she is Earth. Okay? And your judgment of the picture is really not part of this. Tyler, do you have a question about Greek mythology, not about judging the picture?
So, in the movie Moana, the girl at the end of the movie kind of looks like that, the mountain.
Do you think maybe that there's a connection to it? You'd have to rewatch it with Greek mythology eyes. All right, we're going to flip on to the next part of the story. Who's ever heard of the Titans? Raise your hand if you've heard of the Titans. Who's heard of the Titans in some kind of sport manner? You've heard of a team called the Titans, or maybe a movie called Remember the Titans. Who's heard of the Titans just from Greek mythology? Okay, what do you know about the Titans? What can you share? Raise your hand. Shania, did you change your mind? Yeah, what do you want to say about the Titans? Nice and loud, hun.
So they're supposed to be like, I don't know, usually gods.
Okay. All right, we're going to learn a little bit more about them now, and we'll be adding them to this. I know you guys have more to say, but we got to keep going. The Titans were the first children of Mother Earth. They were the first gods, taller than the mountains she created to serve them as thrones, and both Earth and Sky were proud of them. There were 6 Titans, 6 glorious gods, and they had 6 sisters, the Titanesses, whom they took for their wives. Right? Okay, so this is where remembering that it's fiction is really super important. That's actually illegal. You don't marry your brother or sister. That's not okay. But
But you can't.
it's
No?
it's Greek mythology. It's fictional. So move on. All right, so let's add this to this is a very important part of our family tree. How many Titans? Raise your hand if you heard the number. Josh Sweeney?
6.
Completed up for him, Aiden Brown.
12.
There's 6 Titans, 6 Titanesses, so a total, they call them all Titans, total of 12. So I know that there's going to be more children coming, so let me show you how I want you to do this next part. On a family tree, when you're adding children, you come from the couple and you put a line down, and then our line is going to need to go, and I'm doing it in pen so we can see it better on the video, but our line's going to go across for most of the page. This side, we're going to do the Titans right now. So I'm going to put little lines coming off of it, 12 little lines. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I went a little bit past my halfway point. Please make those little lines. And then we should probably start our key, because I'm going to put T's on here for Titans and it's not going to make sense. So flip to 51, just flip it over. And we're going to start our key. And so far, what I want you to have on there is simply this. When we have circles or ovals, it's a female, and you can put girl if you want instead. When it's a square or a rectangle, it's a male, or you can put boy. And capital T equals Titans. Nice and simple. Quick and to the point. Bless you. Alex, are you able to see past me?
Yeah.
Because you can move too if you need to. All right. So females, males, and titans. So what we need to do on every one of these is we need to put a T, but don't put it right up against the line because we're going to put a shape on each one. Capital T, so 12 of those. All right, so we have 12 capital T's, but now we need to show that there's males and females, but we also need to be able to show that they married each other, which is gross. So here's how I want you to do it. Square circle, square circle, square circle, all the way across. You're going to alternate. That's a terrible square, but hopefully you get the gist of it. So alternating all the way across, we are now able to show that they couple. Okay, between the first square and circle I put a line, then I skip in between. The next square and circle I put a line, then we skip in between. The next square and circle I put a line, skip in between, and so on. So we now have how many couples? 6 couples. And you should have 6 little lines showing that. Yeah. You're going to have to, Amaya, can you just share it? I don't have an endless amount, sorry. All right. So, are we good with that part? Can I put the story back up? Okay, I'm just going to read it for a second then. When Gaia again gave birth, Uranus was not proud. That's not a very good father character trait. He should always be proud of his children. Their new children were also huge, but each had only one glowing eye set in the middle of his forehead. Please raise your hand if you have something you want to say. Anais.
Reminds me of Shane Dawson. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Tyler.
It kind of reminds me of Percy Jackson because of the Cyclops in it.
That's exactly what they are. Yeah. So I'm going to come back up here with this so you can actually see it. They were the 3 Cyclops, and they were named Lightning, Thunder, and Thunderbolt. They were not handsome gods, but tremendously strong smiths. Sparks from their heavy hammers flashed across the sky and lit up the heavens so brightly that even their father's stars faded. What are smiths? You might have learned about this in 5th grade social studies last year. What is that, Christian? Yeah, so they, by hand, are making like metals, like silversmiths, blacksmiths, and so on. Okay, so Cyclops are known for doing that. All right, so we're going to move over slightly from the Titans. And what letter should we use for Cyclops? C, and these are all boys. We'll add this to our key in just a second. So just put 3 big C's with squares around them. And we have their names. So sideways, we're going to write those. We've got Lightning, Thunder, Thunderbolt. Now you'll notice that a lot of Greek mythology explains how things were created, like they're explaining the sparks in the sky from them being smiths with their giant hammers, would be explaining the lightning, thunder, and thunderbolt. The sounds and the sparks are supposed to be the lightning. So that's why they create a lot of their gods and goddess stories. Their myths come about to explain how things came to be. All right, so we've got our 3 Cyclops. We need to add that to our key. Let's really quickly add a C. Cyclops on 51. And back to our story. Oh, do you need it still? I'm sorry, I thought you had it. Cyclopes. Okay. So as we continue the story, more children. Just this next part. After a while, Mother Earth bore 3 more sons. Uranus looked at them with disgust. Terrible dad award. You don't look at your kids that way. Each of them had 50 heads and 100 strong arms. He hated to see such ugly creatures walk about on lovely Earth. So he seized them and their brothers, the Cyclops, and flung them into Tartarus, the deepest, darkest pit. under the earth. So we've got several things we need to do here. First of all, I have a very strange symbol I use for the 50-headed, 100-armed children. I'm going to make it big. It's basically the circles are supposed to represent their heads, and the little things sticking out are their many arms. So 50-headed, 100-armed children, add this to your key on 51. Josh Swaney, do you have a question or a comment?
In Percy Jackson, one of the kids went white.
One of the kids, what?
For the 100 arms and 50 heads, one is still alive in this one.
Oh, Tartarus doesn't mean you're dead. Being flung into the deepest, darkest pit is just a deep, dark pit. They're still alive in there. No, not according to this story. Maybe the story you read. Yeah. And that's mythology. You will find that. Like, if you read from this source, you think this happened. If you read from this source, you think that happened. It depends on who told the story and who got it written down. All right, so what we need to do, now that you have your symbol for 50-headed, 100-armed children, you need to add them to the end over here next to our Cyclops. We need 3 lines, and we're going to do these little strange symbols, and they're males as well. To match the key. If you're like, what were those again? You look at your key and you go, oh yeah, those are those 50-headed, 100-armed creatures. I am definitely not an artist, so we've got our 50-headed, 100-armed, but what we know is that where did Uranus send them? Right, called Tartarus. So we're gonna, I hate doing this with pen, I always do this in pencil, but we're gonna put a kind of a strange shape around them. And at the end, I want you to write, underneath here, I want you to write that Uranus sent them to Tartarus. So Tartarus is spelled tar-us. T-A-R-T-A-R-us. So how many total children did they have? Let's do some math. How many total children? Aiden Shaw is volunteering. How many Titans are there, Aiden Shaw? There's 18 total. There's 12 Titans, there's 3 Cyclops, and there's 3 50-headed, 100-armed. So 6 plus 12 is 18, right? But right now, only 12 of them are up where their parents are. 6 of them are in the deepest, darkest pit. All right, back to the story. Mother Earth loved her children and could not forgive her husband for the cruelty to them. Out of the hardest flint she fashioned a sickle and spoke to her sons, the Titans. All right, let's talk about what a sickle is. I know a lot of you have a definition for a sickle from Halloween or Scary Movie. I want you to think about a farming tool. And what is a sickle? I'm going to draw this on here just for the people watching the video, but you guys don't have to draw it. Josh, what's a sickle?
Isn't it a tool to cut down logs?
So describe the tool. How do you hold it? You're holding on to?
It has a small handle
Right.
and a curved blade, and only the inside is sharp.
Right, so a lot of people think when they see this, like this is the sharp part or the outside's the sharp part. It's the inside. So I want you to picture holding the stick, and you're in the wheat field, and you reach forward and you pull that curved part in, and then you pull it towards you, and it's slicing the wheat down or whatever it is you're cutting, whatever your crop is. Okay? Now, it is also used, usually with a longer stick, as a Halloween costume / horror film thing that you may see in things that hopefully none of you have seen because you're too young. But we are talking about this with the name of a sickle. Some people call it, raise your hand if you know another name. It's slightly different, but it's similar. Christian? Yeah. All right, so you don't need to draw this on yours. I just did this for purposes of the video. But so Mother Earth fashioned one and spoke to her sons, the Titans. Not all 12 of her Titans, just the boys. Okay? Take this weapon and make an end to your father's cruelty and set your brothers free. She's mad. Fear took hold of 5 of the Titans, and they trembled and refused. Only Cronus, the youngest but the strongest, dared to take the sickle. So what I need is for someone brave to come up to the Titans up here and point to which one you think Cronus would be if he's the youngest. How about Bobby? Come on up. Think about a family tree. Typically you go oldest to youngest. So where would be our youngest male? Just point to it. Nice. So that is Cronus. Everybody needs to go to the last box, not the last one that's the circle. And we need to put Cronus. And those of you who have read books have definitely heard of Cronus. He fell upon his father. Uranus could not withstand the weapon wielded by his strong son, but remember, he's immortal. And he fled, giving up his powers. So we need to add to our key. And what we need to add is this X. So an X in our notes is going to mean that someone is either killed or taken out. Okay? Typically, with gods and goddesses, it will just mean that they're taken out, meaning they're taken out of their position, they're taken out of their power. They're out of the story at this point. So who do we need to put an X through? Raise your hand. How about Sarai? Okay, Uranus. So put an X through that. Sky. Oops, that sky guy. That's the sky guy. It rhymes. All right. Mother Earth. Oh, don't worry. She's not going to be alone for long. Mother Earth made Pontus, the boundless seas, her second husband. Okay, from this union sprang the gods of watery depths, and from her rich ground grew an abundance of trees and flowers, and out of her crevices sprites, beasts, and early man crept forth. What's important there is that she found a second husband. Poor Mother Earth is not alone. So we're going to write Pontus. That's his name. And we're going to write seas. And we're going to write second husband. He is not another Lord of the Universe, though. He does not get that term. Oops, second husband. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sounded like it was a gasping. I'm going to be out of breath. All right, we good on Pontus?
Yep.
All right. So, we want to take a look at this picture now. So why is she crying? Raise your hand. You can't see it as well because of there you go. Why is she crying? By the way, that could represent waterfalls. She's Mother Earth. Why is she crying, Tyler? What do you think?
Because she lost her son.
Because she doesn't have just her son? Her sons. Tartarus? There's 6 of them, right? So she is not crying because she's sad about her ex-husband. She's sad about her sons having been sent down there. By the way, take a look in her hair here.
Oh, they're kind of cute.
There's 3 Cyclops, and they're actually using the hammer, and it's creating lightning. And then we've got some of the beasts the beasts and sprites and such that were created from her second marriage. Now, what do you think that represents? Raise your hand. What do you think, Diego?
The 100 hand.
Yeah, the 50-headed, 100-armed. And then let's take a look above her in this picture. What do you think they represent?
Ooh.
Raise your hand.
Ooh.
What do you think? I'm going to call on someone. Oh, Jackson, go ahead.
They represent the pieces, and the one at the top is
Right, notice he has the sickle in his hand. All right. And, oops, one more part. You can't see it very well. Look, it's kind of a blurry, like he's fleeing away. Who is that? It's the Lord of the Universe, the Uranus. All right? So that is as far as we get so far. But like I said, it turns into, we're going to find out about Cronus and his wife and their children. And actually, I started rereading a book this morning, and the dog is named Zeus, which is one of Cronus's kids. So I'm telling you, Greek mythology is everywhere. So let me pause this. I have no idea if this took, but give me 1 second.